What's up, guys? Ben here, bringing you another video today. I want to do a little bit of a Rostermania video to talk about Vegas, Minnesota, Carolina, and Boston, the changes they have made the upcoming Esports World Cup. And then at the end, we're going to go ahead and talk a little bit about potentially what the groups might look like for the event. We kind of have some information, but nothing confirmed, so a bunch of guesses on that. So I wanted to kind of wrap up all the news and dive in. Let's start with the Vegas and break down their new team. All right, so a little bit surprising for this team. Vegas's roster for the Esports World Cup will include 3 of the original lineup, Gio, Attach, and Nero, but Fame is rotating in for Johnny. Now, Johnny kind of explained this on Twitter. He said, not competing at EWC, I'm taking care of a health problem. Really wish I would have competed at the event, but nonetheless, good luck to Vegas and all the other teams competing. Will be good and ready to grind for next season. So not sure what kind of health issue Johnny has, but obviously health is wealth. So we're wishing him the best, and hopefully he can resolve whatever issues he has and be good for next season, because I thought he played really good for Vegas. Down the stretch, it sucks that they weren't able to really kind of effectively parlay that into a champs appearance, but they had a lot of really nice things going on that Vegas camp, and I hope that John can keep that going next season. All right, so let's kind of talk about Fame's season and how he may slot into this team for Johnny. So overall, amongst subs, I mean, Fame was, you know, average to really below average in most categories if we scroll through this. Hard point of 0.93, and you see he is soaking up a lot of hill time, but as far as like effective damage, his positive contribution in that game mode, it's not particularly good. S&D, however, is a game mode where Fame was extremely solid, and you see that his ranks amongst some of these categories like engine, like TES, which is basically how positive a life you have, you know, winning opening duels and getting kills per round. Like, he's actually pretty good as far as all players in that game mode. So I think when you think about, you know, Vegas's weakness, which is oftentimes S&D, he might slot really well in Nero to kind of figure out how to kind of get some consistency at EWC in that game mode, and maybe they can help him figure out the other game modes. And control is actually not too bad. 0.98, you see here sort of average stats. It's just really, it's really a drag on the hard point here. So look, with Johnny, you know, having to step aside for a sec and LAG breaking up, I don't think the Fame move is all that bad. Again, if he can kind of help them be really good at S&D and they can grind out some of these series, I could see Vegas getting a top placing at this event, but they fall off in search and they look poor in respawn. It'll be like the Vegas we saw in the middle of the season. They're just going to be a pushover as a team because, you know, sometimes this team lacks, they lack that dog in them sometimes, as we saw with some of the lineups they had this year. All right, next up, we have Minnesota ROKKR's official team, and it's not exactly what you might think based on the rumors of Lins and Gunless being a team of 2. It's actually Lins and Accuracy that stay on the roster, and they bring in Estriel and Diamond over from LAG. So 3 of the 4 for LAG we've talked about so far have ended up on new teams for EWC. My initial thoughts with this team, I actually really like the Estriel Lins kind of sub combo. Lins is a little bit of a roam kind of slayer though, so let's see how they can pair him and Estriel. I can see maybe there being some issues because Fame kind of plays a little bit more straight up. We'll see if that affects Estriel's performance. And the AR backline is okay. You know, I think that, you know, Lamar kind of plays the way that he normally does. He's going to be a pretty slow player. And Diamond can play quick, but he isn't also like super fast either. So I don't know really what to think about this Minnesota team. It's a very weird combination. I think they're just trying to see if these LAG players kind of slotly in nicely for next year. So I think Lamar's also kind of playing for a spot. I don't know, bro. I'm not super optimistic on this squad. I'm not going to lie. I just never want to put my belief in the Minnesota ROKKR, and I'm not going to do it with this team. So we'll take a look at the groups in a bit, but I'm a little iffy on the squad making it deep in this tournament. All right, we got 2 more teams to talk about here. So with Boston making changes, and we'll talk about their squad in a second, Carolina has finally decided after trialing a bunch of people who will slot into the roster, and they have welcomed Benjamin Beans to their squad. Now, Doug Lieb kind of put together his sort of impact score for Ben Beans. Pretty good, decent in the respawns. But as you see here, by Doug's metric, he didn't really feel like Beans' S&D performance has been particularly amazing. And Doug kind of tweeted, Beans put up big damage, but struggled to see it turn into wins this year despite a very easy schedule. S&D was his biggest weakness, only going 17 and 20 in first bloods over 188 rounds, so like pretty close to bottom in the CDL. I'll say this though, I don't know how much I want to subscribe to, you know, Boston stats because that team is so chalk. I think Ben could contribute probably in a meaningful way for Carolina, bring that similar like kind of energy that they like from Clay, and I think he could pair well with Fellow. I'm just very curious to see if this Carolina team can keep up the way they played sort of major 3, major 4. It's gonna depend on group draw for me. Could they make it deep? I don't know, but we're going to need to see a version of the Carolina team that performs well, and they're very like inconsistent And with a lot of time off for TJ and Gwynns, I want to see kind of how they do, because they're sort of X factors here. Also, Fellow has played really well in LAN this year, and hopefully it doesn't fall off for the squad. And the last team that's making changes, as far as we know, for EWC is the Boston Breach. They've announced their lineup. It is Big Wake, Purge, and Cammy coming over for the team that plays second place, OMiT Brooklyn, at the Challengers Finals, and they would be joining Snoopy. Prolu obviously didn't make over to this Boston squad, but it seems like, from what I saw, he is actually picked up a different team under OMiT. We'll get to that in a second. So I'm iffy on this squad, man. Snoopy, Purge, Shove Duo, Big Wake, Cammy, AR Duo is a very weird squad. For Challengers, this would be a great team. I just don't know, bro. I don't see where the power is going to come from. I don't see where the team... I just don't see against pros how this lineup is going to effectively like front run the game in a meaningful way. I think they could be like a decent S&D squad, but you know, I'm thinking about like top 4 squads, even like a Thieves type team or Miami, I think kind of beats a squad. Like, it's a real awkward roster change out of Boston. I'm not really sure the thought process here, like pairing Snoopy with a player they had on their Challengers team, Big Wake, a player they had for a while on their squad, Purge, who I thought had a decent performance this year, but really lacks slaying power and respawns against pro teams. I don't know. I'm a little iffy on this Boston squad, to be honest. And then finally, I'll just give kind of OMiT their flowers. So with 3 of the players leaving, that means that ProLoot will team with Fire, Hamza, and Sparty's picking up a lineup from Houston Spartans. I don't hate this team. This is a pretty good get for OMiT to kind of keep their spot. I don't think there's incredible firepower in this team. They could be a really good S&D squad. I will say that this is a huge chance for Fire 40, because I think he's been really grinding challenges the last couple of years since he got bounced out in Cold War. And I think if he plays really good this tournament, I think he could potentially parlay that into getting some looks on a pro team. Obviously, Spart and Byron have kind of had some chances over the last couple of years, and Hamza's been grinding too. But opportunities for these guys, but I don't expect much out of them, to be honest, to make it out of groups, but you never know. So the EWC group situation's a little bit weird. There was a MENA qualifier, which Falcons won, that kind of had a rule set that sort of described how the groups would work, but it was not a lot of detail on how CDL playoff seeding would work. And it's just, you'll be taking guesses until we see the official one. I think this is probably the most accurate. So let's go through the groups and I'll give you my thoughts. Starting off with Group A, Optic, Vegas, Carolina, and Lore Gaming, the team that won Challengers Champs. Now, Cody in the comments here asked, like, isn't it kind of weird that that they would then go into Group A? And Turtle said, it's kind of tough. I'm assuming they did snake seeding, and we were not really going to know until the official one releases. And I backed Turtle on that. Like, the rules are just super vague, so who knows? But if this is the group, it's actually pretty interesting. I actually think the second spot is pretty wide open. Lore Gaming played really, really good. In Challengers down the stretch here, they were really good at S&D in particular as well. And I look at a team like Vegas that can struggle in that game mode. Carolina, have been decent search. I think Lore Gaming with Alex team, like, they could be like put up a serviceable fight here. They just got to get not demoralized after they get slammed by Optic, but I think there's a chance for Lore to make it out of this group. Optic will top it, but I probably expect Carolina to be the second team out of this group potentially. If this is a squad, but we'll see again if this group actually is what's going to be. All right, Group B. So you got New York Subliners playing their Cloud9, Seattle Surge, G2 Esports, which is Minnesota ROKKR, and the OMiT Brooklyn team I just talked about. So New York should top this group. They should have no problem against OMiT. Vegas versus Seattle versus Miami. Seattle versus Minnesota should be an interesting one, but I expect Seattle to win. Just a question if Seattle and Minnesota will win the rematch. I'll say New York, Seattle, but let's see this new Minnesota squad, because Seattle is prone to upsets, but they've been pretty good at LAN at avoiding those. So let's see what they can do if this is the group. Group C, Toronto, Miami, Boston, and FC Black. So this would be, if FC Black gets kind of slotted into this group, I actually don't think it's that bad of a draw for them. I think they could obviously beat the Boston squad if they played to their potential. I don't know if they played them. I don't think they played them in Challengers Champs. They might have actually in winners bracket. I don't remember if Houston Spartans got dropped down earlier or not. I have to check. But I don't see FC Black beating Miami. So I think we'll see if FC Black can get that upset to get out of group. Toronto will get out of group. And I'll say Miami probably. But big opportunity for exceeding them. They've been chirping a lot. They've been saying they deserve to be in the Pro League. You get in a group with a bunch of pro teams here. Can you convert a win? Can you get 2 wins and get into that single limb bracket? You never know after that. All right. And then the last group, 100 Thieves phase, obviously surprisingly with the 5th seed. The assumption here is that with the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th tiebreakers, because, the way it worked at Champs is people tied 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. that the tie breaking would be like season standings or head to head. So FaZe would have both on Miami. That's the assumption on them being a 5th seed here. So LA Thieves and FaZe probably going to get out of this group. Clutch Rate's not too bad. I just don't see them having the firepower to match both of these teams to the top, and Falcons as well. I always like the FaZe Thieves matchup because there's a lot of friendship, especially between Joe and Abizi, and they kind of all both play high octane. It's gonna be a really good test to see if FaZe can regain, because Thieves had a very good event. Thieves can be a solid S&D squad. FaZe, they'll play each other obviously in the second match. So we'll see what they can do. Team Falcons obviously in this group, I just don't see them having the firepower, especially in Respawn, to really match with these guys. So I think they're unfortunately gonna bounce in groups in this one. So I think looking at this, I think realistically I could see one challengers team probably getting out in either group A or group C. I don't think Falcons could do it, and OMiT, we'll see with some practice time how they stack up against a Minnesota team, maybe Seattle team. That'll be a little bit interesting. Seattle's an interesting one too, with the Boozer being a free agent. I don't know what's going to go on with that, but we'll see how they stack up. And again, if we get confirmed that these are official groups, because this is Turtle's best guess, and I'll back him up. I think it's pretty close to what we'll get, but obviously the EWC, you never know. All right, so let me know what you guys think of some of the changes you saw from Boston, Minnesota, Carolina, Vegas. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments what you think. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe for more. And as always, guys, we'll see you on the next one.